Welcome everyone. This is Debbie Mabry with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You're here for our very first webinar of the month on design software, and today's topic is called Technology and Your Business. 3 ways technology can help you manage your business in order to scale it. Gilli Cherrin is with us. He's with Houzz, and he's the Senior Product Manager. And Gilli, if you're ready to roll, we are ready to get started. Thanks so much. And oh, just a quick shout out to Painton for their generous sponsorship for all of our webinars this month. Gilli, we're ready to roll. Thank you.
Great. Can everybody hear me, or can you hear me and speak for everyone else?
I definitely can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So first of all, guys, it's really exciting to be here. Really excited to talk about technology, which is a big word, and kind of trying to pare it down to 3 different ways technology can help your business is obviously a difficult thing to do. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about technology and how technology has really shifted a lot of industries, but specifically our industry as well. Just a little bit about myself. I'm the Senior Product Manager at Houzz, and focus my time mostly on trying to figure out what the nuance of the day-to-day business operations of the different professionals that we build software for, and how we can leverage technology to make those experiences more efficient. And it's important for me to mention that it's not just about efficiency. Can't think of here's an example, not a great example, but there's the bike pump that is electric that you kind of go over and you fill your tire with and you spend no energy. And then there's the old kind of bike pump where you pump it manually. Now, technology obviously allowed for that more electrical bike pump to do things faster and easier, but didn't really change the way we think about, pumping our bike tires, right? What really did is it made it more efficient, easier, maybe a little bit less time consuming, but didn't shift how we kind of think about our businesses and how we manage our businesses. And that's really what I want to dive in today, and how technology is actually shifting how we approach our business in a bunch of different ways. Lead management is an important one. We're going to talk a little bit about how technology and lead management can really upgrade your business, actually help your business evolve to the next level. We're going to talk a little bit about business management. Business management, we all know it's important to have workflow tools and use software, right? This isn't new, but what are some of the ways that technology is really pushing the envelope in how we think about managing our business, how we make those strategic decisions in the middle of a project, and how technology can kind of help mitigate some of the problems that come about. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of technology mitigating problems. And of course, our favorite topic, accounting. I chose to put this part in there because I think it's something that's often kind of overlooked, or we say, I have an accountant or a bookkeeper to do that. And that's great, but your accountant and bookkeeper can't do their job if the materials we provide them, the raw data that we give them based on our own business and our transactions in our business, that their job is going to be that much harder. And so accounting, we'll talk about it later, is a really important area that technology can also take away the burden, can take away the freak out. And we can really leverage technology to make that better. And we'll give a couple examples during this presentation to dive into that. So that's me and my areas of focus and some of the things that we'll be talking about today. Okay? So let's just take a step back and talk about what do we mean by technology, right? And so in my opinion, there's been a shift over the last 10 years or so, where, in a really good way, in how we kind of experience technology. And technology, software specifically, was really about the toolbox, right? And I give this example, and I'm not a car mechanic in the least, but I have this image of the car mechanic on a dolly on their back underneath the car messing with something. And then they kind of roll themselves out of the dolly, open the toolbox, search around for the right wrench, find it, get back on their back, go into the car, and finish fixing the exhaust pipe or whatever they're fixing. But what software really can be, what software should be, is it should be a sidekick. And technology, and new technology, and kind of cutting-edge technology, thinking about AI or visual tools or all the different things that we can do, can actually make technology be a partner, be a sidekick. So instead of the guy on their back kind of rolling out, sifting through the toolbox to find the relevant wrench, wouldn't it be better if the toolbox just handed him the wrench while he was still under the car, right? He just sticks his hand out from under the car and takes the wrench that the toolbox just handed him. So when that happens, when software can really be that sidekick, that partner in crime, that's when we start to see us changing the way we think about our business. So one example of where it's like been really, really game changing, and I don't know if anybody saw this movie. I think I saw it, but conceptually it really kind of rang a bell with how technology changes things. There's a Brad Pitt movie called Moneyball. Doesn't matter if you saw it, but it's a great example of how people started to approach baseball and player statistics and game strategy from a data-driven place, right? And so now baseball has completely changed. The game hasn't. Right, when we're talking about designing homes, doing kitchens and baths, that doesn't change. That process doesn't change. The relationship doesn't change. But how we approach going about it, technology can absolutely change. And we're going to dive a little bit into what that means. And to kind of introduce, I also wanted to talk just a minute about Houzz and Houzz Pro. So most of us are familiar with Houzz.com. And Houzz.com has been this amazing place for homeowners to come and discover, come and explore, come and be inspired about design. So millions and millions of people come to Houzz every month thinking about actively pursuing remodeling and building their dream house. And even if they're not ready yet, those homeowners are coming in and they're really starting to explore what that would mean for them to actually hire you and do that next project. And so from the beginning, Houzz always wanted to be technology for the professional, for your brand. So you can get your house profile out there and get discovered and seen. And so we wanted to give you the tools to actually interact and connect and show off to the different homeowners that are coming to Houzz.com. And as that started to grow, Houzz Pro and the inception of Houzz Pro kind of really organically began to evolve, because the idea was, okay, what happens next? You know, Bob meets Jane, and then what? How do we actually go about giving more tools to the professionals to go ahead and experience? And so that's really what we did when it comes to Houzz Pro. I'll play this video here. I'll leave the sound off and kind of speak over it a little bit, but you guys can take a look at kind of the ideas that we're thinking about with what Houzz Pro is and what Houzz Pro continues to be and evolve into for the professional community that we serve. Designers, builders, general contractors, architects. These are the different pros that are working with Houzz Pro to bring those projects to life. And it's kind of focused in two different areas that I see it from a product perspective, right? When I'm thinking about building this product, I'm thinking about two people's experiences. I'm thinking about the experiences we have, ourselves, the tools we have, the technologies that we use, the framing that software can provide to our business that allows us to see more clearly and make better decisions and do things, communicate internally better, check off the things that we need to do faster, and just really create a tighter ship. However, that's half the battle. The other half the battle, and the people on this, people on this webinar know it better than I do, is how the client experiences this whole thing. What's the client going to do, not just before I sign the deal with them, but as we're in the middle of the project and as I'm handing back their property to them after reveal day, if that's how we set it up. And so those two parts are really, really important, and technology is the bridge. Technology is the piece that really allows us to pull these different elements together, right? Again, the tools that we're using and how those tools or how that experience is being perceived by the customer, right? By our clients, by the homeowner. So That's essentially what Houzz Pro is. It's the set of tools, but also kind of bridging the gap between that client experience and the project management piece. So as we start to dive a little bit more into it, the goal, no, don't play that again. Let's see. Okay, there we go. We're going to start with lead management. Okay, so again, we want to run more profitable projects. We want to run better projects. We want to land the type of projects that we want to land. We want to cast a really wide net so we can bring in as many of those potential projects into our system as possible. And so when it comes to lead management, a lot of us today are not using, and I would love a show of hands. Obviously, we can't really do that during the webinar, but maybe we can send a survey afterwards. I would love to know who is currently using a dedicated, true lead management or CRM system. Because a lot of us are not. And if we are, we're not necessarily taking advantage of all the cool things that they can do. And it's not, again, it's not cool things because now the pump is electric. It's cool things is what it means for our business. And so I don't really like the term lead management, if I can be honest. I much prefer lead nurturing. And the reason I like lead nurturing is because that is the name of the game. It's not your pictures on your house profile that's going to sell the client. It's not the quality relationships that you have with your vendors, or the really amazing trade discount you're going to get, or this amazing tile guy that puts in those things matter. And of course, the quality of your work and the price of your work matter. But in the end of the day, the thing that's going to make the client say, I choose you, is trust. And trust is a funny thing, right? Because trust is all about how people perceive your work, perceive your professionalism, perceive how transparent you're going to be with them, perceive how many change orders you might send them throughout the life of a project. And so we want to go ahead and nurture the leads as best we can. And I can go ahead and just play this and speak over it, because there's a few images that I really like about this video. And so technology can really help you build that trust over time. And so this is a good example. I like this image here. I'll just click stop, because as those things start to multiply, you begin to realize that, in today's world of technology, right? Because technology is changing everything, not just how we manage those leads, but how people find us, how people hear about us. And so we're starting to bring in leads from anywhere and everywhere. We're going to talk about how we can actually expand that net. And so how do we go ahead and kind of like visualize that? How do we take all that noise and organize it into a really seamless experience? Again, it's not about looking nice. It's great that it looks nice. It makes it easier to use. But the real point is, now that I have this information aggregated in one place, what can I now do with that information? So we just talked about funneling things in from everywhere. This is really important. We're all already doing it, right? The old world of word of mouth, well, we should be getting most of our leads from word of mouth because our work should speak for itself and our clients' experiences with us should speak for themselves. And so that should absolutely be the way to do it. But word of mouth isn't necessarily enough, not just because there's more business to go grab out there, but because word of mouth tends to lead to the same types of projects. It doesn't allow for our business to evolve. Oftentimes, if we're not leveraging different aspects of technology, getting our name out there and leveraging our website and places like Houzz to be found in different ways, changing the way we communicate, changing the wording and playing with the different words that we use in the emails that we send back to clients, and making sure that the emails that we send back to clients are extremely, extremely well written. Maybe we don't need to write it again and again, exactly the same thing. Maybe we can save it as a template somewhere, right? So how do we go ahead and cast that really, really wide net? And bring in all of these leads. And we're going to talk about in a minute about what that is. But the screen you see here on the right is actually one of the services that Houzz Pro offers, is a website builder, right? So if you have a nice website, or if you don't have a website, or you're looking to upgrade your website, Houzz comes with a bunch of really beautiful templates geared to our industry to create a really wonderful experience. But again, It's about creating the bridges. It's about leveraging technology to bring in more leads and nurture those leads better. And so here you see there's the contact form. The contact form here on the right-hand side, you just basically fill in your information, whatever it is, and you click submit. That will automatically come over to your CRM, to the Houzz lead management system, with all of the information just teed up, ready for you to hit this lead out of the park. Or maybe not. Maybe we know something about this lead. Now that all of my leads have come into one place, maybe it's time that I say, you know what, I'm not going to swing at this one because these other 3 leads are better for me. And there are the types of leads in the location, the size of the property. These are the types of clients or these types of projects that I want to pursue, not necessarily because I usually do these projects, because it's time for me to evolve my business and start focusing on the projects that yield me the most money. And I'll say it because we all got into the, to the world of building and design because we have a passion for it, the projects that make me happier. And we can really start to focus our time on choosing the projects that we know we're going to be successful at, both financially, client relationship-wise, and for us as professionals, really bringing our artistry to the table. So your website, your email, online advertising, other pros recommending you, relationships we have with designers, relationships we have with builders that work on projects together, engineers, architects. And so one thing that I want to show you now, which I think is pretty cool, is our ability to, let's talk about email for a second. Because a lot of these leads, a lot of the net that we cast, and if you guys already have a contact form on your website and you're not connected to Houzz Pro, for example, then I bet that the contact form just creates an email in your email, in your Gmail account, or your Outlook account, whatever it is. And so again, your Gmail and email accounts are not a CRM. They don't provide that bird's eye view for you to make those game time decisions, for you to really understand what it is that you're trying to get out of your lead management process. Your team, how are they supposed to be thinking about it? Do you have a process? Do we know where every lead is in its specific phase? Those are things that a true CRM should be giving you. And so before we actually dive into what lead management can look like, and I'm not gonna do too much of a product demo, but just to highlight what we've been talking about so we can actually say, hey, this might make sense for your day-to-day, for your real world. Let me actually show you what our Gmail integration looks like. So here you can see that Jerry Cohen from Bookmap Builder sent me, Gilli, an email. And I'm going to go ahead and reply back. Now this is a bad example because I'm already connected, but you can see that Houzz has actually come into and become a partner of my Gmail experience. And so I can go ahead and write back to my client. Let's say I'm in my Gmail, I get information back. I say, oh, this is actually an email from a client or a potential client that already has a lead set up. They're a brand new lead. I'm going to go ahead and reply to them. But you know what? I'm going to use the templates that I have over in Houzz that I created in my CRM. So the Houzz lead management system, actually a pretty new feature, which is your Gmail integration, which literally connects your Gmail experience. So it doesn't matter where you're getting those leads from. If they're coming from some online advertising that you're doing, or from your website, or word of mouth, or people just say, hey, you should email Gilli because he's an amazing designer, then that email can automatically jump into your CRM. And that's really important. Because of course, email, we're not going to take away email. Email is great. Email is a great place for us to aggregate this information, but we want to get that information over to our CRM, over to our lead nurturing system as fast as we can, so we can put it into the same process, be more efficient, and make better decisions about how we pursue and nurture that lead. And so by integrating your Gmail account in this example, it allows you to do that, but it doesn't only allow you to send the lead over, it allows you to leverage some of the technology that we provide on the lead management system right there inside your Gmail account. Classic example of how technology is changing the way that we can think about our business and how we can actually go after our business and take the bull by the horns, or whatever the phrase is. We get back in the driver's seat. So often when business is going good, we end up living a reactionary life because we're constantly just trying to keep our heads above water. And, that's what technology is. It can keep you above. It can allow you to continue to look. When business is good is when it's the most important time for us not to be reactionary, to be proactive, and to be strategic about how we think about it. And it all starts, I'm putting a lot of time on lead management because I think it's not given enough credit and not given enough space when we think about technology and how it can really help us. So that's that. And so when we think about lead nurturing, again, it's about game time decision making. And game time across the board, not just about should I or shouldn't I pursue this lead. Did you know that the first professional to respond to a homeowner about an inquiry has a higher chance of getting the lead, getting the deal, getting the project? And then that seems pretty obvious to us, but we have to be on top of it. We have to make sure that we're not waiting 48 hours until we respond back. So how can we allow ourselves to do that? Are we tracking where these leads are in their life cycles? Do we know, this person I spoke to 3 times, this person I'm meeting with, this person I already sent an estimate to, right? Do we know where those things are? How are we controlling our messaging? How are we setting up meetings at the right time, right? Is it a consultation meeting in the beginning? Is it then an in-person meeting where we're doing measurements? How are we organizing that? And how are we organizing our week when we're trying to manage 10 projects while also trying to manage 45 new leads, right? How do we break up our time? How do we use our calendar unless we bring everything into one place to really understand what's going on? And then it's not just about the yeses, right? It's about the no's and the not yets. After a year, looking back at your lead management system and saying, wait a second, who said no to me? What are some of the common denominators of these people saying no? How many people said not yet? What if they said not yet? What if they said call me back in 3 months or in 2 weeks? How do I remind myself about it? Technology can be a solve not for just the day-to-day, get it done faster and better. It can aggregate data so you can look back over your business in the last year and make real strategic decisions about, I'm going to stop answering clients like this because even though the price tag looked really nice, I spent so much time pursuing them and they didn't have a good conversion. These are important things for us to be able to do, and your lead nurturing system should be able to give you that functionality so you can have that bird's eye view on your business. So I'm going to jump right now and actually take a look at what this, how this works in-house. Probably, again, I'm not going to spend too much time here, but just want to go ahead and click into the lead section here on House Pro. And you can see that all of my leads, this is just a demo account, but all of my leads are sitting here. Oops, click back, sorry. All of my leads are sitting here on my current leads. As I start to say, hey, this is actually, I just spoke to Tony and it was a great conversation and we're gonna have a meeting next week, or we already set up the meeting. I'm gonna go ahead and move that one to meeting. So notice that meeting just got one. For review went from 7 to 6, and meeting just jumped. And so this funnel at the top allows me to jump between the different areas, right? And so I'm not just explaining here that as we start to aggregate, we can have an immediate bird's eye view of exactly what's going on. And the system is built to allow you to kind of be really efficient about it. And the point here that this meeting happened offline, it's important because a lot of technology companies, they think, okay, now that they gave you this technology, you must live on this technology. Don't use your email. Don't use your cell phone. No more text messaging. No more WhatsApp groups. We need to organize everything. And we don't really believe, I don't really believe in that, right? I think that you guys should be communicating in the way with your clients and your team that makes you most efficient. But if you can organize that information in one place, even if that meeting happened or got scheduled online, update the CRM to indicate that it's in meeting phase. Let's actually click in. Let me drive that point home a little bit more. If you had a phone call with them, please log your call here inside the CRM. Please make sure we keep a record of it because it's not just for you who quote unquote will remember, but we all know you probably, if it was me, I wouldn't remember. It's also for our team members to come in and understand that a call happened. Shouldn't there be a source of truth, a single source of truth that us and our team members can access to understand so we're not repeating ourselves, so we look like we're a really professional company. So when the person on the other phone talked about when designing their house, they have to care about their dog because their dog is really important for them. Isn't it great that your team member can know that? So when your team member hops on the call to discuss, whatever it is, countertops or whatever it might be, isn't it great for them to have that nuanced understanding? Because what are we trying to build during lead management? We're trying to build trust. And so those things, those little things, can really allow us and our team to act the best. You don't have to have a large team to look like the best, most professional team out there. You could be, you don't need an office with 35 people. You could be a single person show and still come to the table with the best possible business and the best possible business profile with just utilizing a little bit of technology. Again, we talked about not reinventing the wheel. We showed this in the Gmail integration. That same list of templates is right here. We can go ahead and use that same list of templates that we saw in the Gmail. We can create new templates. We've got quick replies. I can say, hey, sorry, not available. I can go ahead and say, hey, second, this is not right for right now. I'm gonna snooze this for a month. If I click on snooze for a month, in exactly 1 month, that lead's gonna pop back up. So I don't need to remind myself because technology is doing it for me. And of course, when I retire that lead and I say, hey, it didn't happen because the scope was not a fit, Houzz is going to say, cool, do you want to send a message? Because it's important, even when we get the no, or when we decide that it's a no, to write a message back to the client and keep that professionalism, because our brand and our reputation is everything in this business. So these are different areas that you want to go ahead and make sure that you keep an eye out for when you're working on, when you're thinking about lead management and creating your own system for lead nurturing. And of course, keeping all the notes, files in one place, super important. Could be architectural designs, could be contracts, could be whatever it is. Super important to keep that aggregated in one place. And so not only are we having your email here and your phase management and your Dropbox or your Google Drive, we're trying to bring all of these things under one house. And that's important because it just lets things fall through the cracks and we're able to act a little bit more efficiently. Okay, so let's go back. So again, those are some of the things. Meeting scheduler, one of the things that you get, which I actually think is a really great thing. You guys have heard of a company called Calendly that basically gives you a calendar link that connects to your calendar. And so, when you send it out, say, hey, pick a time that works for you. They only see times they know work for you because it's connected to your calendar. So if you have a dentist appointment at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, your calendar won't be available at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it knows when you're busy so that your client can pick that. So Houzz actually has the same thing. It's your own calendar link. It's your own, meeting link that you can send out to whoever you want and create meetings. What's cool about that is it's integrated with your CRM, right? It's integrated with your lead nurturing platform. So when that meeting gets created, the system actually knows that. And it does two things. It gives you all the information about that meeting right there. Of course, you're going to get an invite on your email. All of that's going to happen also, but it also gives you that ability. But also you can just do it right there and it integrates with your CRM. So those are some of the functionalities. Just keep your eye out for. Don't want to spend too much time diving into the product, but hopefully that gave you an understanding of where technology can really change how we think about lead management. It's one of the most important places because we don't get to business management. We don't get to project management unless we win the leads. And as we want to grow and evolve our businesses beyond what they are today, it starts with that casting that wide net from all the different areas, bringing in and using technology to leverage our ability to build trust with our potential clients so we can actually get into that next phase of management, of project management. So let's just dive into business management for a second. Business management instead of project management is a little bit of a broader term that really allows us to think not just about the moving pieces, but also about the transactions involved, because those are very, very intimately connected, right? Things move through their process, through transactions. And so there's a lot of really important ways. And again, I said it in the beginning, but sure, workflow tools, we all know that software can help. In many ways, I think that we attribute software can help much more so on the on the project management side and on the lead management side, we don't necessarily need a dedicated software. We have a Calendly and we have an email, and so we think we're good, but hopefully we can see how technology can really bring that experience together. On the software side, there's actually some really, on the project management side, there's some really cutting edge technology, right? Like there are visual tools that you can use to scan a room and get a measurement, you know, that we support that. So you can go ahead and create a floor plan and come back and really kind of create a more accurate, you know, CAD drawing. We have 3D models that you guys can use, really easy to use, really cool technology, some really high tech stuff in here. I'll push play so we can watch this as I speak over a little bit. Client presentations, right? Like, of course we got the deal. And actually this is interesting. I spoke to one professional, I'm pretty sure that they were a designer recently, and they said in the lead management phase, here, let's just go ahead and take a look. So you can see the example here of that, of your ability to kind of measure out the room. We also have 3D floor models that we can go ahead and you can build out 3D floor models and pop in products and really show what that room's going to be. And so a lot of us are using existing systems to create those models. We have one that obviously integrates into the rest of your system, which brings a lot of value. But that's an example of how technology is already influencing our business. I'm sure you guys are all really familiar with that. And so what I was going to talk about client presentations here is that, of course, trust is most important before we land the deal, because after we landed the deal, we got the deal. But the job doesn't stop there, right? We need to go ahead and make sure that our client is happy throughout the process. And so how do they experience, you know, selections? How do they experience approving certain items and not doing others? How do they experience a contract or a proposal? Those are all really important things to be able to show, and I can go into a little bit about what that looks like in a second. But a short anecdote: I spoke to a pro one time. I think it was a designer, and she was talking to me, and she said, you know, it's interesting because, you know, before you sign the deal, the client feels like they have all the control in the world, and they do, right? They're choosing you or not. But the minute you sign that deal, they've entered into a world that they don't know how to deal with. The client, unless they've done a lot of remodels, a lot of times they haven't. They don't really know what's happening and how your process works and how you work with the different professionals and tradesmen to actually bring the product to life. Why timelines can shift for one reason or another, whether it's rain or late shipping or broken tile, whatever it is. These are things that can create a huge amount of tension. We all know this experience, right? Where the client's trying to figure out what you're doing and you're trying to explain to them, but you're using jargon that they don't necessarily understand. And so our ability to communicate effectively with the client throughout all interactions on their project, whether that's approving a proposal or paying an invoice or, you know, reviewing progress updates, these are all really important things that technology can help create that trustworthy experience throughout, so the client doesn't feel super alone. If we can handhold our clients by being transparent throughout the life cycle of the project, we're going to have a better outcome. The work will probably come out better because we're getting it done, you know, with less stress, but also that is going to turn into that best word of mouth referral later on. So I'm going to dive in right now and just give one example of how we can go ahead and create a proposal and use some of the different tools that technology can give us. Now, most of us have been using some sort of software to create invoices and things like that. And in QuickBooks, if you guys are using QuickBooks for accounting, it is a great place to do that. Word is also a place that, you know, a lot of us are still using Word to send out these contracts, and some of us are using, you know, dedicated project management software. But technology allows us to really take that to the next level. It allows us to, again, be that sidekick to give you the things that you need right there in front of you to send the best looking proposals out. So I can go ahead and do that. There's a couple other things, speaking about Clipper tools and parts library that we have here. So one of the things that Houzz does, and this is just something that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get otherwise, other than like using and utilizing technology, is a list of thousands and thousands of parts, both labor and material, that is updated every quarter for every single zip code in the United States. Sorry, we don't cover Estonia yet, but maybe one day we will. And so we want to go ahead and establish that we have this amazing library of prices that is constantly getting updated. One thing that I hear a lot is, I've been in this business for a long time. I've got experience. I know how to build an estimate. I know pricing. And I listen to that and I say, there's absolutely no, there's no replacement for experience. Experience 100% is going to lead your ability to complete that project and know what's around the corner before you turn it. However, we live in a very ups and downs world, right? Let's talk about what's happening today. So many crazy things are happening that affect, our economy, affect labor shortages. And so we actually need access to accurate pricing at any given time. Because again, the thing about estimating is that it's actually one of the most important things that we can do to actually close that deal. And because we don't necessarily get the deal by sending out the estimate, what happens a lot of the time is that we spend not that much time on creating the estimate, and the estimate's not that accurate. And then we get the deal and it's full of change orders because we have the lowest price or whatever it might be. Or we spend a ton of time creating this really amazing estimate. We're super confident about it. Then we don't get the deal for one reason or another. And so there's this, paradox, this conflict that happens because we want to go ahead and we want to be able to kind of do our estimating as fast as we can, but that comes at the price of accuracy, and that shouldn't be the case. And technology, again, can bridge that gap. It can happen when we're using a parts library or just being able to organize that information better, or even using a product clipper tool. Using a product clipper tool. Sorry, guys, just 1 second. Sorry, guys, I had a quick 3-year-old visit. So when we talk about like leveraging these parts library, it's really important because it allows us to get accurate data. So there's a bunch of stuff that we can do, and I'm going to go through one quick example that I think will resonate with a lot of us, and we'll come back to this example a little bit later. I know time is of the essence, so I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit. Okay. So team management, we'll get through in a second, but let me actually just jump back into projects really fast. I'm going to create a quick proposal and talk a little bit about what that looks like and how we can go ahead and change how we experience this with the customer. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new proposal. Let's first go to Blake's Beach House Condo. Click into proposals. Create a new one. We're going to go ahead and pull in a bunch of products that have nice images on them. Maybe we're going to do some tables here, right? So a lot of these products, by the way, that are living here came using the Clipper tool, the Houzz Clipper tool that allows us to go to pretty much any website on the internet, grab product information with the click of a button, and then save it not just to our Houzz account, but automatically associate it with the project that product is for. Again, using integrations like your Chrome integrations, like the Clipper tool that we're talking about, allows me to do that. It gives me access to Houzz everywhere I am online. And those are things that are really, really speeding up. It's one of our, our most used features. And so you can see this is not QuickBooks. This is not just a Word document. We can associate these items with rooms. Again, this gives us the ability to organize budgeting and all the things that we want to do as part of our workflow that we can utilize during project management. And so we see got a bunch of different table options here. We can go ahead and click on save, and then we're going to be able to show, I'm going to show you guys just one or two quick little things, and then we'll get back to the presentation and then hopefully open up for some questions in just a few minutes. Okay, so here all those items are. When the client experiences this, they experience it they can actually walk through the different items. So really great experience when the client says, ooh, you're presenting expensive stuff to your client. The client has to feel like they're having a luxurious experience even when they're perusing your proposal. You can do things like allowing your client to approve per line item. And you can see now there's a little approval button next to every single one, right? Just turning off different settings. You can decide, you want your client to see how much markup you're charging. Right? You see this one includes a 20% markup. Maybe you guys are super transparent. Maybe you're not. Either way. So we can show that or not, right? We can decide to do that or not. We can also do things like grouping items together. I'm going to quickly show this right here. Okay, let's say these are 4 items. Forget what these items actually are, but imagine it's a custom sofa. Imagine there's some fabric, there's some cushion, there's some frame, there's some workroom, there's some warehousing hours, whatever it is. We're going to go ahead and create a sofa item. Okay, and click on save. Now what's going to do is going to group all of those items together into one sofa. So I'm going to go back to client view. They just see sofa. And that's really important because, again, we've got this complicated experience. We'll talk about this in a second. There's a reason I'm going into this grouping feature, is that it allows us to go ahead and organize all of that into one line item. Well, our clients will experience one line item, even though behind the scenes, we know there's some products, some fabrics, some labor, some warehousing, a bunch of line items that actually make up what goes into that sofa. And that's very testament to our industry, right? Like, we want to give a clean, simple experience, elegant experience to our client without having them necessarily understand all of the work that goes into it. For better or for worse, right? We deal with that in our industry. And lastly, on the business management piece, I want to talk just for a second about team management. Technology unlocks the ability for us to communicate with field management, remote management, from our phones or from our computers. While we have people in the field, it could be our subcontractors, it could be our project managers, whatever it is, we're able to manage that. We're able to keep our teams focused. Not everybody on the team should have access to everything, right? Not every person is working on all of the projects. So when updates come in with projects, we don't want to inundate, this person with too much noise or that person with too much noise. So how can we actually allow people to have access, not because we don't want them to see information, not because we're trying to hide things from them, but how can we go ahead and make sure that we give the relevant amount of access to the relevant team members so they can do their job most efficiently. They know the tasks that are on their table. They know the projects that they're working on. They know the communications that they need to be involved in. And so how can we think about creating that virtual roundtable, right? Wouldn't it be nice every day in the morning to get around with everybody that's working on our projects, from all the different, our colleagues that are architects and engineers, or subcontractors or carpenters, all these people get in the morning every day, sit around a round table, have a conversation about the day, and then go get it done. Of course, that doesn't happen in the real world, definitely not now. And so technology allows, not even through Zoom, but technology allows us to have a really great round table where all the different people, I think it's interesting, right? When you go to the dentist to get your tooth pulled, right? There's just one person that, there's not 17 different people that pull your teeth. There's the dentist. But when you build a house, there are 17 different people involved. That's complicated. It's pretty cool that all these people come together, but they have to work together. They have to work on the same schedules, right? Great example of technology is timelines, right? We didn't show it here, but timelines is a great example of how, an online timeline can shift, right? Because if one thing gets pushed back, everything else needs to be pushed back. So how can we use, timelines and Gantt charts that update automatically, that unlock this ability to make us hit our deadlines? So that's about business management and team management most specifically, and how important it is to bring everybody, your entire team, into the same system. So I know we're running low on time, and I do want to open up for questions. So I figured I would end with the most exciting part of everybody's day, which is accounting. Right? We all love accounting. We all think that our QuickBooks accounts are amazing, and our bookkeepers and our accountants love it when we go in and mess with our accounting and mess with our QuickBooks account. But that's obviously not true. In fact, I've had conversations. I've actually gotten in the middle of a conversation between, an interior designer and their bookkeeper, and they're both angry at each other because they thought that it was the other person's fault. And I said, hey, look, the whole idea of Houzz Pro is that the designer can work inside Houzz Pro and never touch QuickBooks, and the accountant can work in QuickBooks and never touch Houzz Pro. And in unison, they both said, thank God. It was so funny because that's what they're trying to accomplish. And you can't do that without technology. You need to be able to integrate these experiences. And so, for example, right, so this is the accounting, this is how we kind of set it up. Also, the other thing about the industry is that we're buying and selling products and services for every category. We're putting millions of dollars to our businesses. We're not necessarily making millions of dollars every time, but we're working on very expensive, we're selling very expensive things. Projects can be easily $100,000, $300,000. We do a few of those projects, we're earning revenues of millions of dollars of every year. if your accounting isn't tip-top shape and you're putting millions of dollars to your business and you get audited, it's not even about fear of getting audited. It's about just making sure your books are in order. Because I've heard horror stories, real, true life horror stories of people that have been audited in the interior design space and their businesses had to close down. Sure, they scrapped things together and they started from new, but it was not a good experience, a big loss and an unnecessary loss because they weren't trying to do something wrong. They just didn't have their books in order. And so being able to use your workflow tool that can integrate with QuickBooks is an extremely important thing to do. And nobody likes to talk about it because nobody wants to talk about accounting. They don't want to think how much time it takes in their day. They want to say, oh, I have an accountant. But again, your accountant's ability to do their job is only as good as the inputs you provide them. And so here on the screen on the right, we can see how we can organize the different money that we get inside our House Pro account and then send that over to QuickBooks, right? So I actually, just for the sake of time, I won't go too much into this. I know we're running out of time, but just one last comment. Remember that grouped line item that we just built together? So when that actually gets sent over to QuickBooks, right? Because that group line item had, remember we built a sofa, had fabric, had cushion, had workroom time, had movement, had logistics associated with it. So all these different pieces. Now that's a different type of income. Some of it is service provider income. Some of it is time that I sold. Some of it is product. Some of it is fabric that I sold from my own fabric store, right? We need to keep all this money organized, and your client doesn't care. Your client just wants to see custom sofa or whatever it is. And so we need so your client is one line item. We send those line items to QuickBooks. Not only do they need to be separate line items, but the revenue from each of those line items needs to be accounted for in a different revenue bucket in your chart of accounting. I'm not going to get into the accounting side, but it's technology that allows you to actually run a decent ship. And so your accountant's going to be super happy. But beyond that, having your accounting in order and really well organized, which shouldn't be hard with technology like House Pro, when you sit back after a year and you say, how much money did I make last year from fabric? How much markup did I make on other people's labor, and how much was that representative of my total income and my profit? And so sitting back and having your revenue organized well, whether it's in your QuickBooks account or wherever it is really, really, really valuable. And so I know it's not everybody's favorite topic, but it's one of the places that technology can lift so much of the existing pain and worry that we have as we're trying to build our small businesses into bigger ones. So just to recap, and then we'll jump to questions, and sorry for going a couple minutes over. Technology not only makes it easy, makes it faster, makes it more efficient, it gives us the tools to strategize differently and evolve our businesses. And so we all know this deeply. It's 2020, we know that. And so the goal of this presentation was to talk about the different areas that we think technology can provide the most impact to your business. We're talking about lead management, which I think doesn't get enough credit because people think that that they've got it figured out. We talk about business management, estimating, measurements, accuracy, client experience. Technology brings those things to the next level. Without it, your client's not going to think that you're as professional as the other person up the block that has 45 people in their office and six offices. And so you can be that with technology, right? Because technology is democratizing in that way. And then, of course, for your accounting, let's just do it because it's important that we get our accounting right. And so, guys, I hope that was helpful. I really appreciate the time. It's always great to chat and kind of talk about the things that we're so passionate about using technology for over here at Houzz. And I'd be happy to field any questions.
Okay, well, hey, thanks, Gilli. This has been really interesting. And I know you tried to touch on the 3 main points, which was great, of, people helping them to manage their businesses. And we do have several questions. Before we get to those, I just want to once again thank Paintson for their generous sponsorship for today's session and all of our webinars this month. And let's get to the questions. So Madeline wants to know, can you tell us what does CRM stand for again, please?
Yes, so I think it's customer retention management or customer record management. But again, that's just like CRM is a term that's being used to kind of doing the lead management. And I like to think about that, especially for our industry, as lead nurturing. So it's all about building that trust. So it's customer record or customer retention management, which is what the CRM stands for.
Okay, that's great. And would you say that most of these types of systems have a CRM component to them?
So yes and no, right? They'll have like a contact list, or they'll have like the ability to say, hey, these are my opportunities that are not yet projects. And so when you run across a system like that, it's not going to give you the same kind of element. So not all CRMs are created equally. A lot of them do. And there's a lot of standalone CRMs out there, right? So what's nice about the Houzz Pro CRM, for example, is that it's because it's integrated with your project management. When a lead converts into a project, all of the information, the files, the conversations, the notes, the call logs, all of that information actually carries over. So you don't miss a beat, you don't lose any information that transition from lead to project. And so, yes, there are some amazing CRMs, some amazing standalone CRMs out there, but some of the more dedicated tools in our space, they don't have the same robust CRM capability where you can really like track the funnel of the leads and communicate with them in the same way that.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. Let's see. So Pat wants to know who owns the information if Houzz Pro is used?
You do. So a couple on a technical side there, right? All the information is being held in servers that are not owned by us, just being rented by us, just like everything else you have online, including your Gmail account. And so everything is extremely well protected. We do not sell or use any of your information, not to clients, not to other pros, on an individual basis. So we'll never use that email address. We'll never do anything like do anything with the specific information that you guys provide. As that information belongs to you. Not only does it belong to you, if you decide to leave us, it still belongs to you, and you have a right to ask for all. You can download it yourself, or to ask to have all your information down to yourself.
Okay, great. Let's see, there's a couple of questions here. From Doris, does the lead management system work with other domain emails based on your business name and not Google?
So maybe she's speaking about the email integration piece. Not sure exactly. Can you maybe read that question again?
Yep, I will. So she's wondering if the lead management system works with other domain emails and not Google.
Yes. So the lead management system will work with regardless of any email you have. If you have Gmail, not just gmail.com, but if you use Gmail as your system, you can have that Gmail Chrome extension where it actually integrates with your Gmail. However, we have options for if you have Outlook or Yahoo or AOL, we have options for those as well. In fact, it's a really simple one. You basically get to forward any email from your email, and you just click forward to a special email address, and then the lead managers will know to ingest that email as a new lead. So, for example, if you have AOL, so you can't use the Chrome extension I just showed to integrate your email because you have AOL. However, you can get an email from a prospective client, the lead, click forward, use the forward email that we provide you, and then the system will automatically ingest that. So it's essentially the same thing as the Gmail experience, but you just don't see anything. It's not actually integrated in the same way. But the same core functionality of quickly moving leads from your email into your lead management system to manage that.
So it doesn't matter what type of email that you use,
That's correct.
even if it's one that you created, like a special one, like with your business.com, something like that.
100%. That's correct. In fact, we encourage that, right? Everybody should have their.
Okay. Great. So then there's another question based around Google from Kelly. Does the program connect back to G Suites like Google Sheets, Google Docs, etc.?
So that's a great question. So as we start to integrate with more and more elements of Google, we started with Gmail and we're starting to work with Google Drive as well. So you can actually have in your files folder, not just files that you've uploaded, but access to your Drive account. So you can see both your sheets, your presentations, and so that's something on a roadmap. The first foray into that was the Gmail experience. Great question.
Okay, and then there's a question here from Stephanie. Is there a way to print out a client file?
Yes. So it's actually something we just came out with, our ability to kind of print out all the information about a specific lead, or en masse, right? It kind of brings down the information onto an Excel file where you can see all of your leads, all the leads that you select to download, and then you can go ahead and see all of their specific information. And so you're able to do that. It does not include today the chat conversation. If you want to download the chat conversation, we're working on that, but you can just easily copy, just control, copy all, and then copy it over to a document. Yeah.
So it only exports to Excel files, or you can export to other types of files?
It exports to an Excel file with all the information per lead.
Okay. All right. So like if you had any photos attached or anything like that, or drawings or whatever, it wouldn't.
It would provide it as a text link. So you can click it and it would open up that file in a browser.
Okay. Can you just speak, please, a little bit closer to the microphone so we can.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. Yeah.
Sorry. I think it's my headphones getting looser. So you're able to kind of you're able to download that information and print it out. Although I will make a comment about printing things. I think it's important to be able to have a hard copy record. I'm not against it at all. But the whole idea of the software is to organize the information in a way that is really accessible. We have a files tab, so you can click to the tab and view the different files, then click on a file and then open it, right? And so if I printed this out, it would be a very, very large file that I printed everything out. So our goal is to provide you all the information in an Excel file to give it to you. However, when we're experiencing it, the best way to experience that information is obviously on your computer or on your phone, because Houzz Pro has a mobile app, and everything that we just put over also works in your mobile app.
Okay, so I have a question. About the mobile app. Is that good with iOS and Android?
That's correct.
Okay. I can't hear you, Gilli.
Yes, it works with
moving away.
It works with both iOS and Android for Apple and Android phones.
Okay, good to know. And then obviously you have to have a certain phone as far as it's like some older phones may not work, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so they generally will. You need to have one of the most recent updates over the last few years, and your phone could be older than that, as long as it's running a slightly newer software,
Okay.
because the newer software gives us abilities to integrate more and more technology.
So you have those types of requirements somewhere if someone were to speak to either you or someone from your organization about, computer system requirements, mobile app requirements, stuff like that.
Yeah, all of that was going to be listed out in the Apple or Google Play Store.
Yeah.
So you'll see it there. It'll give you all the requirements. And of course, you can speak directly to your customer support person, and they can provide all that information, go into details about anyone's individual specific needs.
Okay, good, great. And then there's a question here from Darby. She says, "I'm using Ivy, but as a kitchen designer, it's not perfect. I love the ability to add the visual to the invoice, but it's hard to do an initial estimate with an overall price range for the kitchen project. Is there a way to do a price range within your system?"
Great question. So right now, there isn't a way to provide a price range. And so let's talk about that for a second, because I love that question. I think it's important. It's kind of when we've decided on marble countertop, but we haven't decided which marble countertop, it's important to be able to create a dummy line item, right? That says between $7,000 and $10,000 or whatever it is. And then that's true to the estimating process that we're all familiar with, right? We're going to start with a range, and as we start to answer more questions, that range gets smaller and smaller, and then we select what we're actually going to buy, and then that number becomes specific as opposed to a range. So that's a great question. It's things that we are indeed working at Houzz Pro, but there is no way to establish a range on an estimate inside that project proposal to date.
Okay, good to know that it's possibly in development. Let's see. So then Evelyn is asking, what is the cost of this pro program? I don't know if you can give ranges on that or not.
Yes. So I'm not a salesperson, and I think the number is $99 a month. And you get all the software that we just discussed. When you get into some of the higher tiers, you get into some of the advertising packages that Houzz also offers to promote your brand and on the Houzz platform. But for the software pieces, I think we have a $99 and maybe even maybe, I think it's maybe even a less expensive one. I'm not exactly sure, but it's like $100 and under.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's see, another question here. What if you're doing a complete floor or a whole home? That's a question from Doris.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
I think she's talking about your software, obviously.
Yep. So it's a great question. And in fact, we highly recommend that when you're doing multiple rooms or an entire house, that you do not create multiple projects, because your client doesn't see them as multiple projects. If they're happening one year, you're going to do this room, and the next year you're going to do that room, fine, make them separate projects. But if you're attacking an entire floor, one of the things that we provide is actually the ability to establish what room every line item in the system belongs to. And so as you start to add in products, could be flooring, could be furniture, could be whatever, you can associate those items and labor, right, with a specific room. And that allows you not only to create that kind of grand project budget, but allows you to understand, and for your clients to understand, exactly how much money they're spending per room. And so, yes, we should absolutely be creating all of those rooms in the same project. House Pro, of course, supports that.
Okay, I've got another question and then a comment, and I think we're good. Let's see. Is there one-on-one help to learn these platforms? And then another part of that question from Judith is, so there is a House Pro and then a premium add-on. So she's kind of asking two different questions here.
Yep. Great. So one-on-one support, yes. I believe that in the $99 plan, you have dedicated support, but there's always access to a real person to speak to. And there's also a really large help center and documentation of all the different features with videos and explanations that you can kind of get up to speed. But I always say, hey, of course you should read those articles. They can answer 90% of your questions, but sometimes you're dealing with something specific that's happening in your day. And absolutely, you should be able to set up a time to chat with a dedicated support person. Now, the premium add-ons, there might be a couple things. There are some additional features that you get when you have the higher tiers, and then there's also the House profile piece, which comes with some premium functionality for your profile. Like you could have a video, and there's a few more things on the House side that I believe you do get when you buy the software package of House Pro. Even without the advertising, you get some of those profile enhancements as well on your House account.
Okay, actually, there's two more questions that popped in.
Sure.
If you're still okay to answer, Gilli, that would be great. So Ashley says, my company averages between 6 to 8 projects a month with several rooms. How can this program help on a scale like that?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. Ashley says her company averages between 6 to 8 projects a month with several rooms. And then she said, how can this program help on a scale like that?
Yeah, so that's great. That's really our bread and butter. We're talking about managing multiple projects at a time, multiple projects throughout the year. And so you're going to go ahead and create, 6 or 7 projects inside the account. You can bring your team members on as well, and you'll be able to manage all of those pretty seamlessly through this software. And so like that proposal that we built together, that was just one proposal for one project, but you're able to create as many different projects on the system. And by the way, the way that the system is set up, it's a project-based system. And so when you want to create a new proposal, you have to go to the project and create a proposal inside that project. We did that on purpose because we want this to be a multi-project management system that allows you to scale up. And the idea of software, the idea of technology is why 6 to 8 projects? Why not 16 to 18 projects, right? How can we go ahead and bring on more projects without necessarily hiring too many more people? And technology can help bridge that. I'm sure you guys are extremely efficient in what you do, but adding in levels of technology can help you actually bring on and manage more projects without necessarily bringing on more cost to your business.
Okay, well, that kind of leads into the next question from Neil. He says, what sort of training is offered for use of your software? For example, if he has a new hire, what is the learning curve for that person, and what do you offer to assist in getting them up to speed as quickly as possible?
Yeah,
so
great.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Great question. So in the beginning, when you first get set up, when you first kind of purchase the program, you're able to get a bunch of training that's in everybody's interest. We want you to get starting and going as soon as possible, help you integrate your QuickBooks account, get your bank account set up so we can, so you can use online payments and all these things. And so we will help you get started. And we'll work with you to get started. Now, when it comes to team members, if you have a dedicated support, then we'll also spend some time with your team members to bring them up to speed. But I will say, and not in a way to toot my own horn, but we try to create software that is relatively intuitive, where the way you do something over here is going to be the same way you do something similar over there. And so as you start to use it and learn one area of Houzz Pro, you're inherently learning other areas of Houzz Pro, because we try to keep the experience consistent from the software side. And so, yes, there's plenty of hand-holding and help for you, for your team members, both in person and through articles. And hopefully the software is also pretty intuitive, that it's a delight to use.
Okay, great. And then I'm not sure if you had contact information, but if you have a slide like that, that would be great. But Dieta just wanted to make a comment here. She said, Gilli, your big picture overview has been terrific. Your energy thrown into the less exciting areas of our industries is contagious and concise enough to make one feel like they get it and can do it. So thank you.
That's the idea. I appreciate that's very, very kind. And that is, as you can hear from the passion, I actually am excited about those mundane areas, because it's where we can drive the most impact to our businesses. And our goal at Houzz Pro is to really create the tool set to have you guys have more successful businesses and grow your business and become the types of designers and builders that you want to be. And so you can learn more. You can always email me. Happy to chat directly at gilli@houzz.com. That's GILLI @houzz.com. And you can learn more about Houzz Pro at houzz.com/pro. That's houzz.com/pro. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, Gilli, I want to thank you so much for this really energizing presentation, and to all of you out there in the audience. And once again, to thank Painson for their sponsorship for today's session in all of October's, and all of you out there in the audience for staying with us for the Q&A. And I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks so much.